Okay, I think I got everything up. I use the Excel spreadsheet as a presentation tool, okay? The reason is my board writing is so sporadic and all over the place that it would take me 4 boards to show you how to do this calculation. So I use an Excel spreadsheet to keep it on one board. That's the only reason I use it. Now, there's 3 types of people in the room when I put up the Excel spreadsheet. There is the person that goes, well, what the hell is that? Okay? And then there's the person that goes, oh yeah, I've used that before. I used it back, blah, 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 blah. And then there's the person that goes, oh, well, he's not doing that right. He needs to do it like this. He needs to do it like this. I invented Excel. Okay? There's those 3 people. Okay? You do whatever you want to. I'm showing you 2 other ways beside the Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to show you how to do it by hand, and I'm going to show you how to do it on your calculator. Now, that's 3 ways to do this math. If you can't find one of those ways that you like, then I don't think I can help you. All right? Because those are the only 3 ways that I know of. Okay? So, the Excel spreadsheet in class is used as a presentation system. If you receive one, or if you receive something crazy as an email attachment, there's usually an explanation for it. Okay? And most of the time, it's some kind of DA hoop I have to jump through. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to pull up the whiteboard, and I'm going to put some values on the board, and we're going to use these as maybe test scores. Okay? I don't like to use this. Let's go with, I hope I can do this, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100. Oops, I suck. 100. How many is that? 1, 2, no, let's do 5. All right, I want you to write down those 5 numbers, and I want you to write down everything you can tell me about those as far as the mean, median, mode, range, mid-range, variance, and standard deviation. Now there's 3 types of people in the room. 1, I know how to do the mean. 2, I remember the mode, the mean, and I think the range is easy. That's all I know. And then there's the person that reinvented everything. Okay? Person that just came out of Math 120 in high school and knows how to do all those. Okay? I'm teaching the person that has no idea what's going on. So as long as you remember that's who I teach, you'll be all right. Now, a lot of people, and I know I probably went over this Wednesday, but that's been a few days ago, and some of y'all have the short-term memory of a gnat like me, and you forget things, so we're going to go over it again, just in case you've forgotten some things. All right, what is the mean? Well, the mean can be called several different things. It can be called the average. It can be called X bar. X bar, I write it out when I do the Excel spreadsheet because the symbol is in there, but it doesn't look right, and I just don't want to use it, and you have to import it in, and I just don't like to use it. So I just write X bar as a word. It's also called what? The average, and in a population standpoint, it's mu. Okay, so you may see the average written several different ways, but that's what it is. And did I go through and tell you what the definition of the mean is, where it's the only number that's no variance? Did I do that? Okay. The definition of the mean is, let me say you have a bar graph like this, and I always draw it the wrong way, so kind of be patient with me. 5, 10, 15, 20, and A's, B's, C's, D's, and F's. And let's say I have 5 here, and I have 10 here, and I have 20 here. Let's see if I do this right. Let's see. 10. Okay, so 5, I can chop that off. 5 here. Well, that's supposed to be 5. 5 there. And 10 here. Okay? So there's my graph. And let's say that I want to take, this right here is an excess of 10, right? Because it's 20, this is 10, and this right here is 10 units. So let's take those 10 units and let's take half of it, which would be 5 units, and we'll color that blue. And let's cut it off and put it right here. Okay? And then let's take the other 5 units right here and let's cut it off and put it right here. Now, what have I just done? First of all, let me take a green marker and I'll just do this. Okay? And let me take my eraser and I'm going, since we cut it off, I'm going to erase this right here since we cut it off. Okay? And now where does the green line go? We'll change the color of the green line to red. No, magenta. All right, now where does the line go? Say again?
Straight across.
Straight across. Now, the green line and the magenta line represent variance, okay? Or variation. It doesn't have to be the word variance. You might get confused with the mathematical term of variance, but variation means going up and down, up and down, up and down in a non-patternistic way. All right? So that's variation. What have I done to the variance of this group of data?
It's equalized it.
I'm sorry,
It's like equalized it.
I equalized it, made it equal to what number?
85.
Think of, yep, or not 85, but what? 10, all right? What else? If in terms of slope, what did I make it equal to? A horizontal line, the slope is equal to what?
0.
So what I did is I took the green line and I manipulated the graph to where the variance is equal to what? 0. So what's the definition of mean? The number that represents, write this down, the number that represents 0 what? Variation. Now I guarantee you, if I asked y'all that before I went through this, none of y'all would tell me, and some of y'all went through 120 in high school. To me, probability and statistics, one of the first things you should learn is the definition of the mean. And if I asked you, you go into a rhetorical loop. What do you mean? Well, if I ask you what the mean is, you say, well, you add up all the numbers and divide by how many numbers you got. And then I say, no, that's the mathematical mean. What is the mean? What do you get? Well, that's the average. What is the average? Well, you take the numbers and you add them up and you divide by the number. No, that's not it. The definition of the mean is the number that represents 0 variation. Okay? Now that you know the physical definition, now what's the mathematical definition? Well, all of you know the mathematical definition. You add up all the numbers and you divide by what? N. So the mean is equal to the summation of x. These are x's. And we divide it by n, which means the number of people or the number of grades you had. So in this case, it would be 75 plus 80 plus 85 plus 90 plus 95. Now, I'm not going to do that yet. We're going to do it on the spreadsheet because I'm going to go all over the place. Right now, I'm just writing definitions. Okay? The median. The median is a calculated middle. Calculated middle using middle terms. Okay? Well, what's the calculated middle using outside terms? That's the mid-range. Okay, so we can go ahead and write that down. Mid-range is the calculated middle using min and max. I tell students this is the closest thing in statistics to a number line. Okay? So while you're at it, let me go ahead and give you the formula for that. The mid-range is equal to the highest plus the lowest divided by 2. The median, if n is odd, you just pick the middle number. If n is even, you average the two middle terms. Okay, so you got your mean, you got your median, and you got your mid-range. Now, go ahead and take a minute with your calculator and find those three things. And if you can't find them, just consider yourself a failure. Take a minute. MT means middle term. Don't you hate it when you forget to charge your phone? You have to go around all day with a charge cord. All right, I'm going to erase this. And we're going to talk about the mode. The mode, remember the two first letters in mode is the same two letters that's in what? Most, the one that shows up the most. You can have one mode or you can have 5 modes. Mathematically, we really don't care. Okay? It really doesn't matter. Mode is just something that it shows up a lot, and the only thing it tells you as far as a mathematical perspective is it shows up the most. That's all it shows you. It really doesn't show anything, and I really don't really care about it. The homework questions asked for it as well as the tests, so I need to put that in there. So it shows up the most. You can have monomodal. You can have bimodal. You can have trimodal. And you can have polymodal. Of course, bi means 2 modes. Tri means 3 modes. Poly means more than 3. And that's just for your standardized test or to sound intellectual, whichever one you want to do, because that's what it means. Like I said, it's not really. And do not use the number what? 0 to say 0 or none. You always write out the word. Okay? So don't use 0. Let's see, range. Range is equal to the highest minus what? The lowest. And that's all of the easy calculations, or the, I don't want to say easy, but the less cumbersome. Okay? And we'll go to the variance. I'm going to go ahead and write down the variance for you. And again, I know I've went over this before, but I'm going over it again because sometimes I get a little fast. The variance is equal to the summation of x minus x bar raised to the second power over n minus 1. And the standard deviation is equal to the square root of the what? Variance. So once you get that number for the variance, you take the square root of it. Now, the two most important numbers are the standard deviation and the what? Mean. Okay? Along with those two, the secondary most important numbers, in other words, these are all the ones you need to look at, but those two are most important, is your median and your what? Mid-range. The ones that I have not highlighted are the ones that I really don't care about them, but you need them for a certain reason, or you need them for a homework question, or, you know, why is the variance not important? It's important in more advanced statistics courses, but not this one. And the reason you need it is so you take the square root of it. That's why you need it. Okay, is everybody good with what's what? Okay, not necessarily the calculations, but what's what. Everybody good with that?
Do we need to know the actual definitions of variance and standard deviation for the test, or just the formulas?
No, just the formula. Because I'm going to show you how to apply it. I think I showed you, but if I didn't, I'm going to show you today. Okay? No, you don't need it. The only reason I give you the definition of the mean is because if it's kind of like, just wait a minute, I'm thinking. And I don't know if you ever worked at UPS or I worked at Walmart. And of course, I didn't work in the fabric department. They put me in the back loading boxes, okay? Because that's what I'm good for. All right? So when you're dealing with boxes, what do you put? If you got 10 boxes to stack and they're different sizes, which one are you going to put on the bottom?
Biggest.
The biggest. Why? Because you got to have a good what? Base. Whoever said that. Okay? You got to have a good base. You cannot teach statistics if they don't understand what the base is. And the base of statistics is this guy right here. Without that guy, you don't have statistics. And without these two, to back that one up, you don't have statistics. There is no interpretation. There's no calculation of the mean. There is no interpretation. That's like having the cart before the horse. It doesn't work. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's your parents' fault. Okay? So, let's go to the next part, which is on the Excel spreadsheet. And I will go through and actually calculate these so you can feel good about yourself. Capiche? Yes, Hubert, we understand. Thank you, class, for the interaction. Always nice to have a class that interacts. Makes the class go by a whole lot faster. Yeah, I think so too, Hubert. I got a lot of classes that I sit in and it's just like sitting in a refrigerator. Yeah, I know. Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to open this up so where y'all can see it because I'm using it as a presentation tool. And I'll just make it there. And I'll put this up like 14. And n is equal to, I think we had 5 numbers, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to go down here and we're going to call this x. Now I'm going to move over here. Yeah, x. X right here. And 75, 80, 85, 90, 95. The reason I picked those numbers is about the only ones I can remember, the ones that are in 5s. So that's why I have to, and I'm going to put down here, I'm going to put summation. And then over here, I'm going to put mean, median, mode, range, mid-range, variance, and standard deviation. All right, now a while ago I asked y'all to do the mean, and I think the median and mid-range. Okay, if you didn't, then we're going to do it.
Priority 1 message coming in on secured channel.
I thought I turned that off. Evidently I didn't. There. All right, so mean. Let's see, I told you that the formula was add them all up and divide by n. I'm going to take my auto sum, which if you know Excel, you can do that. And I'm going to divide that by this number right here. And there's my sum. So you should get 85 by hand. Okay, median. Well, the median is easy when this n is odd. When n is odd, you just what? Pick the middle. That's it. And I highlight that. Oops. I highlight that because it's easy to get. Mode, I really don't care about. There's none there, so I put NA. And range is equal to the highest minus lowest. And mid-range is equal to, parentheses, the highest plus the what? Lowest divided by? Divided by, I hit enter, sorry. Okay, whatever. Divided by 2. And there's your numbers I told you to calculate or do a while ago, okay? Now, the variance is a multi-step thing because of the, now, some of you may be saying, what the heck is he doing? What's Excel? Well, if you ever get a chance, take the class CPT 170, okay? It's one of our staple classes on this campus, or not this campus, but Tri-County Tech. That's one of the best courses that were ever developed for new students and non-traditional students. You know how they say we only use 10% of our brain daily? Well, that's how much of Excel and word processing we use. We don't know how to use 90 or 100% of it. There's all kinds of things you can do with Excel and the word processor that you don't have to do extra work by hand, but we don't know how to do it. In CPT 170, they not only show you how to do it. They show you how to get your money's worth out of both of them and other things. PowerPoint, Publisher, all those programs that's used in the office, as well as well, when I say the office, your office, when you get out in the real world, okay, or whatever. All right, so take that class if you need to know. That's a good way, and it counts as a transfer credit for any computer class, introductory computer class, and for a lot of majors, they want you to take it, kind of like Spanish. You're gonna need it, okay? So anyway, I'll shut up. So here's the formula for variance. Variance is equal to the summation of x minus x bar raised to the second power over n minus 1. And I told you before, what do we do first? Please excuse. So we're going to do that first. X minus x bar. Well, I told you that these were x's. And I told you that the mean is x minus x bar. So that means I'm going to subtract the mean from each one. So I go to my column. You would go to your next column and draw a column right beside your x's. And you would name it x minus 1. Or, I'm sorry, x minus x bar. So I'm going to put parentheses here, and I'm going to say x minus x bar. Now, the reason I put parentheses around it is so you can associate it with the parentheses in the formula. That's why I do it. So that's equals this minus 85. Now, for Excel people, listen. For non-Excel people, close your ears or doodle, okay? Hit F4 to lock. Why do you lock that cell right here? Because if I bring these down, copy down, it's going to copy these right here, and you're going to get some funky numbers. So you lock that one, so each one of these is subtracting this number instead of subtracting each number right here. And if you don't know Excel, you have no idea what I'm talking about. So, and I'm going to copy down. And there's, okay, I must not have, that's what it's going to do. All right. Okay, 90 minus 85 is not 70. Okay, I must have hit it, I must have turned it off. Hold on. Let me do this and hit F4 again. I must have toggled it off. And see, it doesn't give you a value here because it's doing 85 minus NA. And you can't do that. So that's what happens when you don't lock it. There we go. Okay. Now, what do we do after? Take our handy dandy highlighter. And what do we do after parentheses? Exponent. Square it. So I'm going to make a column, and you make another column. And it's going to be called x minus x bar raised to the what? Raised to the second power. And the reason I put it just like that is so you can relate it to the formula. You're reading the formula, you're doing what the formula says. So I'm going to take dang old 10 and raise it to the second power, and that's basically, the reason you do that is to make everything positive. And then what do we do after, and I'll take my handy dandy highlighter, and I'll make this yellow. What do we do after we do that? Add them all together. Good. So I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to auto sum, and that's that. There's your numerator for the variance. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this yellow, meaning that's the summation, and I'm going to highlight this blue, or aquamarine, sorry. Okay, I don't have aquamarine, but I could make it, but I'm not going to, that'd just take too much time. All right, and then green, is that right there? And that's just to show you what I did. So now I've got a numerator of 250 and a denominator of what? 4. So I go over here and I say equals this number divided by parentheses minus 1. And I know that 5 minus 1 is 4. I got 2 or 3 degrees, okay? I know that. But the reason I do that is because when you're dealing with Excel, this is for the people that can't remember or the people that know how to work with Excel. You try to use the numbers that are given. So that way if the numbers change, you can still use the formulas. And it's really not applicable with n because the whole thing would change with n, but it's just habit. And that's all the reason I do it. 62.5. Again, that's pretty much useless, but the standard deviation is not. And how do we get the standard deviation? We raise 62.5 to the 0.5 power or to the 1/2 power. So I take equals 62.5 and I raise it to the 0.5 power, and there is your standard deviation. And I'll take my highlighter. I'll use something different. That burnt orange, I guess I'll use it. All right, there's your, I'll forget that. I'll just do this. Can't draw with a mouse, it's about impossible. I'll highlight these two and go up here and do that and do that. There's your 2 important numbers. Now, let's check the data. Let's see if the data is fairly valid. Is it? Yeah. Why? Because you're counting by 5s. If you were counting by 2s, you'd get the same accuracy. If you're counting by 7s, you would get the same accuracy. Because there is not only the numbers are valid, but there is a what? A pattern. And anything with a pattern is what? Predictable. So that's what the 3 numbers tell you. You got a very predictable set of data. Capiche? Now, what do you do with the mean and the standard deviation? Well, you set up your normal distribution. And the thing that goes in the middle is the mean. So those of you that are a little bit, I have no idea what that was at the bottom, you need to write this down. In the middle of the normal distribution is the mean. And you add, going to the right, just like you do on a number line. The right side of 0 is what? Plus. So you add. So I'm going to add the standard deviation to the mean. Write that down. Add the standard deviation to the mean. So equals this number plus the standard deviation. And I'm going to lock that because I'm going to take it out to 2 or 3 standard deviations. So that's one standard deviation. The second standard deviation is that right there. Now, what do you do on the left side of 0? Subtract. Thank you for the interaction. So 85 minus 8 is going to be whatever, 7 or something like that, 77. So F4, there's that. And then I'm going to take it one more. And there's that. Now, what the heck is that? Well, that's the normal distribution. Now, I'm going to talk to you about what we call the empirical rule. Of course, your book doesn't have it as the empirical rule because students are too stupid to know what the empirical rule, they don't know how to spell it. So they call it the 99, 67, 32 rule. Now, you tell me the simplification between that and empirical. It's in your book. I don't know where it is. If you want to find it, find it. I mean, if anybody's got a book, try to find it for me. So I can write down the page number. But the empirical rule, and just mark through the book, and put that stupid title they call it the empirical rule. And it's spelled like that, I believe, because it doesn't have an H. Some Some word empirical's got an H in it. This one doesn't. Anybody find it yet? Whatever section we're in is probably a section before or a section after. So if you got a book, find
It's
it.
on page 386.
386? Is that what you said?
Yep.
Okay, 386. And mark through. What do they call it?
The 68, 95, 99.7 rule.
Yeah. So somebody tell me the logic in that. Empirical, and what she said. All right. I want you to memorize that rule. Okay. I'll pull it up for you right quick because I'm a good teacher and I'm very thoughtful. And I'll let you draw it right quick for those of you that don't have a book, because I told you not to buy a book, and that's what I told you, right? I said, don't buy a book and don't bring it to class. That's what I said. I actually have students that tell my department head I said that. I thought I pulled up. I know I did. Oh, there it is. What chapter is it?
6.
6 what?
C.
B? E?
C.
Oh, C. This is the wrong freaking book. Hold on. You ought to be glad I said freaking, because, once you're in the Marine Corps, there's only one word, that people use in the Marine Corps. All right, 103. Chapter content 6E. I'm sorry, what'd you say? C? And 386. 386. I went to a conference one time, and somebody I work with, first time I've ever been to a conference with them, and petite, female, very small, kind of like my mother, just very short, petite, and she drove, which I cannot stand. I cannot stand riding in a car with somebody else driving. I'm just that way, okay? I like to drive, and never since then, I drive to my conferences. I don't let anybody drive, and I don't let anybody ride with me unless I like you, okay? And you don't talk all the time. But anyway, this guy cut in front of her, and oh my gosh, this little person, female, turned into a rage monster. And she went on for 15 minutes, and I'm like, it was kind of like, when the monster comes up in the SpongeBob movie and grabs the cheeseburger mobile and goes back down, and SpongeBob and Starfish and Stars. That's what I was doing. And she was, every other word was, whew. And ever since then, I've tried not to make her mad, because it's be embarrassing if she went rage monster on me. 386, so it must be right in here, right? It's not there. You sure it's on 386?
Yes, I have my book open.
Oh, that's 383. But I didn't hit. Dork. All right, there it is. There's the rule, the 68, 95, 99.7 rule. All right, if you don't have a book, go ahead and write that down. I'll blow it up a little bit, because that's the next word that's coming out of y'all's mouth. I can't say it. I can't say it. Make sure you sit in the back of the room. Let's see. There, is that good enough? Just write that down, because you need to memorize it. So take a minute and write that down. Now, what the heck does it mean? It means, see, they don't even tell you what it means. They just put a bunch of junk up there. All right? In most books, 99.9% of the probability books, 95% represents normal. So normal is going to fall within how many standard deviations? 2. So this is, as my daughter said when she was little, normal. Okay? Well. See, that's why I don't like to blow it up, because when I write something down, it doesn't do right. Normal. Okay? Now, outside of 2 standard deviations is what we call unusual. And then outside 3 standard deviations is your 6-foot third graders. Okay? Which are called what? Outliers. And your 2100 SATers. But you can only score what? 1800 on SAT. All right? You know the people. They make 105 on a 100-point test. I mean, you could give them a rocket science exam and they would make 100 on it. I mean, there are people like that. All right. Now, the percentages. And it's best just to do this. Put a 34 here. Put a 34 here. 13.5. 13.5. 2.35. Now this is where I go against the book because it sucks. 0.15. And this is 2.35. And 0.15. Okay? 98%, 99.9% of your books, if you go into a probability of statistics class in BFE University, all right, it's going to have those percentages. It's also going to be called the Empirical Rule. All right? So make sure you learn those percentages. Now, how much of this distribution curve are you going to be using on the test? A lot. Okay? So, and then the next section that we go over, which is called Z-scores. Okay? So make sure you memorize that empirical rule, okay? And please mark this out and mark that out and call it the empirical rule. That way when you see it in Math 301 at Clemson, which is the next level statistics from this course, you won't have a conniption, okay? And if you go up there and call it the 99.7 rule, you'll probably get thrown out of class. But anyway, that's that. Now I got to get back down to size where I can, let's see, read, let's see. There we go. All right. Now let me get back to where I was. Now, the email that I sent you, and you can use it or you can just play with it, either one. The reason I sent it was for not mathematical reasons, but it is something handy to have, like on your homework. I think it's this one. Now, I fixed it where y'all couldn't screw it up. And you can only input these values here and the mode. The reason I did that is because when I used to send these out whenever we do one in the class, but people kept screwing them up. So I just quit doing it. And it's just like anything else, like the life lesson I told you, there's always one. Well, in every class, there's usually 2 or 3 that would break an anvil with a banana. Okay? And I can't send it to the masses because of the 2 or 3 that break an anvil with a banana. But you can protect it to where they cannot break the anvil with the banana. And this is how you do it. Now, let's say you got 4 test scores. All right, here's your 4 test scores. Let's say you made a 72, a 75, a 80, and an 85. Well, your grade is 78, and there's all the information. So you could just punch in the numbers, and you could spit out the information. Now, this will help you on your homework when you don't want to sit there and make a spreadsheet or do it by hand. And a lot of you say, well, I'll just do it on my calculator. Well, actually, this is quicker because you have to input the data in your calculator, and I'll show you on the homework how you don't have to do that. Okay? You can actually copy. Okay? Or you can send it to an Excel spreadsheet. And I think there's some of those homework problems that has 15 or 20 numbers in it. And that's just a pain typing all that in your calculator. All right? So I'll show you how to do that. And anyway, so there's your number there. So let's go down to 5. Oh, wait a minute. Forgot about the median. N is what here? 4. 4 is odd or even? Even. So you take the two middle numbers and you do what? Average them. So average those two middle numbers right quick, just so you know how to do it. 75 plus 80 equals, and then divide by what? 2. Thank you. And that should be 77.5. Check it and make sure that you get that answer. And that's that. So let's say you have 5. Well, we've already done 5. But if you have 5 test grades, let's say 81, 85, 90, 92, and 98. You've got an 89 in the class, and that's the other information. Now again, why do you need to know why the data is tight? Well, from a presenter's perspective, okay, I'm not going to give you the data. I might not show you the data. But from an observer's perspective, if I give you this, keep your eye on this over here, because that's what I'm going to show you. Okay, I did this. I sent out a survey, blah, 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 blah. And I got the following data. Well, that's not going to work. There we go. And that's the data I got. I mean, that's what my data told me. Well, you as a presenter will look at that data and look at those 3 numbers, the mean, the median, and the mid-range, and you're going to say what? You're going to raise your hand. You're going to say, Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, what threw your data off? Because your data is off. Did you have a lot of outliers? Did you have a survey not returned? Or what, how do you know that? Because the 3 numbers are not what? They're not tight. Whatever. I don't feel like messing with that this morning. The 3 numbers, the mean, the median, and the mid-range, are not. They're not GHI. Okay? For those of you who don't know what GHI is, that tells the mule to move left or right when you're plowing. It also means it's not lining up. It's not tight. Okay? Parents' fault. I know. Anyway, so that's what I was wanting you to do for the project. I wanted you to take measurements around the house, put in people's ages of the house, put in, any numbers you wanted to, and see what the numbers do. Those 3 numbers, see what they do. Okay? Now, what does the standard deviation do? Well, the worse, the more lax or the more slack your data is, the bigger your standard deviation is going to be. Because what does it do to your data? It spreads it out. So the standard deviation is going to be more spread out. Write that down because I think that's a homework question. What does this mean? Well, when the standard deviation is high, that means there's a lot of variation in your data. That means there's a lot of slack in your data, a lot of slop in your data. It's all over the place. There's a lot of outliers. A lot of people didn't turn in surveys, or they turned them in incomplete, or something like that. That's what that means. When your standard deviation is low, considering your numbers, when your standard deviation is low, usually your mean, median, and mid-range are going to do what? They're going to line up. And your data is not going to be spread out. It's kind of, once you explain the concepts, it's kind of common what? Sense. If your normal distribution is spread out based on your standard deviation, that says that your data is out of compass. If your standard deviation is low, then that means your curve is tight, which means your data is tight. Okay, so let's move on to 7 numbers. Or 5, was that 5 or 6? Did I do 5 or 6 on that one? Oops, I'm sorry. Let's go back up here. I'm sorry. There we go. There's 5, and then we go to 6. 75, 85, 85, 90, 91, and 100. Look at your mean, median, and mid-range. Data's tight. Look at the standard deviation. Now, the standard deviation looks like it's long, but that's based on what scale? What scale is grades on? 10 point or 10-point scale. You know, letters. Okay. So, is 8.75 large compared to a 10-point scale? No. Now, what are you looking for as far as large? 15, 20, 25? Because it's a 10-point scale. Okay? So, you got to think about that also. Sometimes you're going to get a standard deviation. You have to put it in some kind of relation to the data. Some kind of relation. You can't just say, oh, well, that standard deviation is 10. Data's all over the place. No, you got to look at the standard deviation. You got to relate it to the numbers, and then you got to look at those three numbers, the mean, median, and the mid-range. Interpretation. You know, in communication with a relationship, you got to have communication. But communication is a two-way what? Okay? You could listen to every word that I say in this class and still fail the class. You could hear everything I say, but if you're not listening, you know, same thing here. If you take the standard deviation and you base everything on the standard deviation and you don't relate it and you don't look at those 3 numbers, you're not listening. You're hearing, but you're not listening. And let's do ages. I did ages here. Let's do 17, 18, 18, 18, 19, 21, 25, and then I'll put mine in there, 51, because I suck. I had to go back to school at 51. Look at there. What happened? We got a 24 and a 18. Is that 18? And a 34. Something's wrong. Not necessarily wrong. There's somebody in there that's screwing up the data. And that's me, 51. All right. Now, if I change that 51 to 30, watch what the data does and watch the standard deviation. Watch that standard at 12.22. Watch. See? It drops down. And so does the numbers. What do they start doing? They start lining up. So you got to look at 2 or 3 things there. All right? And that's how you use that. Now, how do you use it when you're doing homework? Well, let me go to a homework problem and show you. And then we'll look at your calculator and let's see, what time is it? Because some of y'all go into spontaneous combustion. Huh?
10:35.
Okay. Class is over 11, right? Okay. Oh, I got plenty of time. All right, so let's go to the handy dandy. Yeah, there we go. 6C. And I don't want to go to the study plan because I don't know what's that's got all that in there. So I'm going to go to the homework. 6C. And let's find one with just a few in it. Oh, this is Okay, it must be 6. What's 6B? It must be 6B, sorry. I went by the empirical rule. I'm sorry, empirical rules with z-scores. Sorry, I suck. 6B. Okay, there's one right there. You got to be kidding me. Does this book not? Okay, there we go. All right, let's look at this problem right here. This is where you're comparing two sets of data. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to do this problem because it's got like 15 parts and it basically irritates me because there's like 15 parts. But what you do when you got this box, see that little box right there? Click on that. Now you can do two things here. You can copy it to Excel or you can copy it like copy and paste. Now, how many numbers you got in the first section? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do I have an n equals 6 spreadsheet? Yes, I do. So I'm going to take that, just open it up in the Excel, and then you can go in and you can pull it up. So I'm going to take this data right here. Oh, you got to hit that stupid button at the top. Okay, I don't like that. I don't like that. That's a new thing that I don't like. All right, hit and copy. And then go to your spreadsheet that I sent you, wherever it is. And how many was in? And put it right here and hit what? Oh, you got 15 different. There we go. And there is your standard deviation and your mean. Now, if you did that in a calculator, it would take about 3 times as long because you got to type in those 6 values. Then you have to go in and put them in what? Order. So I'll show you how to do that right quick. And it takes practice. If you're going to use the Excel spreadsheet, these to do your homework, you're going to have to practice it. I mean, you can't do it in 5 seconds the first time. You got to practice copy. Control V is in Victor, and Control C to copy, and Control V to paste. You can do it that way. That's the easiest way to do it, but that's how you do it. Oh, wait a minute, it's not in order. Oops, my bad. Let me put it in order. Go up here to insert or data. I'm sorry. I got to put it in order. So I'm going to put it in order and I'm going to say sort. Why doesn't it let me sort it? You should let me sort it. Oh, because it's protected. Oh, I'm going to have to fix that. Looks like it should be sorted. Okay, you go out to sort it first. You can do that in here. I'll show you how to do it in the one that you put it in. Where is it? Right here. Here's how you do it. You hit this. You hit data and sort. And then hit expand because it's got to put these in order too. So hit sort. Okay. Let me just do it this way. Should just, okay, just let me do it this way. I'm just going to sort that one thing. All right. It shouldn't be doing that. Okay. It's never done this with me before. I don't know. Just give me a second. Column B. There. All right, so I take this now and copy. Control C, as in Charlie, and get out of that. And now put it in here. Control V as in Victor. There we go. All right, there. That's better. All right, now look at the mean and the median and the mid-range. What's the problem? You got an outlier somewhere. What is the outlier? Probably that 314. That's your outlier. Also look, and let me I don't know what happened to this thing a while ago. I apologize. It shouldn't. It went crazy on me and got small. Okay. Oh, I can't. Here we go. Is it not? Oh, I can't change it. Well, how did I? Oh, I know what I did. I hit the dadgum size thing. I didn't hit it. It just went crazy. There we go. There we go. All right. Now look at your numbers. And look at that standard deviation. Standard deviation is pretty high. Because look at the difference between, what's the difference between 123 and what? 104. What is that difference? 19 or something? What is the difference between 123 and 128? 5, 138 to 134, what is that? 6? And then you got a standard deviation of 79. Something's wrong. Or not something's wrong. Something is out of kilter. And it's at 314. If you change that 314 to 150 or 152 or 148.6, watch the standard deviation. Now it's getting down to a manageable standard deviation. And all of this is calculation and interpretation. Okay, so that's how I use it. Pull up the calculator. And I'm just going to make up numbers. I'm not going to try to remember those decimals because I can barely remember a phone number, so I'm not even going to try that. So, pull up your handy dandy calculator, and I'm going to pull up TI-84. Look over here where y'all can see it. I don't know why it's looking like that. Oh, because I got to, no. I don't know why it's looking like that. It's not supposed to. All right, go to Stat. Those of you that have one, go to Stat. And hit Edit. Why? Oh, there it goes. Okay. Go to Edit, hit Enter, and write that down. Stat and Edit. Hit Enter. All right, now this is their spreadsheet. Now you've got to type those numbers in order. And sometimes you got 15 or 20. So you got to be careful. So I'm going to type in the same one we did a while ago. 75, 80, 85, 90, and 95. That's the first problem we did. Okay? Now, I'm going to go to Stat and write this down. Stat after you've done it. Now to put it in order, this is how you put it in order. Stat, sort in ascending order, sort in descending order. What is ascending? Dang old, think of the Bible. Ascension, what does that mean? Going from the ground to the what? To the sky. So that means they're going from smallest to what? Largest. Okay, that's what it means. All right, so ascending, yeah. I think that's what, or descending.
Ascending.
Let's look at descending. Hold on. Well, go to D. Let's just, I get them mixed up sometimes. All right, hit D, and this is how you hit. See that? Look above the 1. Everybody look above your 1. And what does it say above the 1? L1. That's your first column. That's the L1 column. In Excel, it's called A. And this one is called L1. So hit the blue button or shift button and hit 1, close parenthesis, and enter. And now go back to look at it. Stat, edit. Yeah, I had it right. Ascending. That's what we want, ascending. So let me go back. Stat, sort, ascending order. Enter. And second, 1, close parenthesis, enter. And now go back to Stat, edit. And there it is. That's how you put them in order. You can either type them in order, which takes extra time if you got 15 or 20. And if you got decimals, just hit the button and send it into Excel and try to do it in Excel because it's going to be a pain. Or take it into Excel and do what? Put it in order and then type those into your calculator. Be a whole lot easier doing that than trying to do it by hand. Okay? So anyway, what do you do after that? Hit Stat. Now this is important. Write this down. Stat, calculate, move over to calculate, and then hit first variable statistic, hit enter. And it's going to ask you list, L1, and go down to calculate. And there's your mean, and I know this sounds awful, but just remember sex. See the SX? Remember sex. If you remember sex, you remember SX. You remember 7.9. So your mean is 85, and your standard deviation is 7.9. Somebody look and check to see if our standard deviation was 7.9 on that problem. I believe it was. Okay? And now, you can arrow down. Look here. You can arrow down, and you'll get the information that we're going to go over in the next section, 6C, I think, or 6D, one of the two. There's your quartiles. And we're going to go over that when we do the box plot, and that's our next step. Because right now, y'all should be working on any homework having to do with mean, median, mode, range, mid-range, variance, and standard deviation. That's what you need to be working on, which I think is 6B. 6C, what do we get? Somebody look at your outline. What do we go in after 6C?
I think Z-score.
No, what after that? What section?
7A through E.
Okay, so that's the end of the unit, 6?
6C is the end.
Okay, so we're getting ready for a test after 6C. So, the people that have put off their homework, you better get started because it looks like we're probably going to have a test, or I'll probably be going over a review next week. Okay? Because I'll go over 6C. No, it'll be the next week. I'll go over 6C probably Monday when y'all come back. That means I'll give y'all an extra day to do 6C homework and send those in. I'm not going over 5A. I'm not going over that. Y'all had your chance to send those. Well, I haven't gone over homework, so I will because I haven't gone over. I think I covered one homework problem that was sent in with today's lesson, I think, but I don't know. We'll go over it in case. But that next Wednesday will be review day. That's probably when I'm going to pull up the test. I'll assign the test dates. We'll go over the test. I'll then assign the homework termination date. And if you got to do chapter 5 and 6 homework, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You know, my priority is not your mismanagement of time. Okay, so we're probably looking at a test Wednesday to Wednesday of next week. Probably, because I usually start it on the day that I go over it. I go over it, we go over it, and I'll go in and set the day. Today it starts after class and then goes to next Wednesday. So now that's tentative. I don't need y'all coming in here freaking out, okay? It's tentative and it's online, and we got to do the stupid online in class thing. We'll do that after y'all take the test, okay? All right, who's got questions? And I'll go over all the information about the test on that Wednesday if we make it Wednesday. It may be the next Monday, but I think probably, you know, with your overabundance of interaction, I think we'll, probably be Wednesday. All right, who's got questions for me? Y'all don't have any questions. I've just covered the materials